Okay, so on November 25th, 2025, EASA issued a pretty critical update, AD 2025-0260. And this one's a big deal for anyone operating EC135 and EC635 helicopters. It all stems from a scenario that is, frankly, every pilot's nightmare. We're going to break down exactly what you need to know about this.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll cover the unsafe condition that kicked this whole thing off, then pinpoint the affected fleets. After that, we'll dive into the required actions for compliance and wrap up with the operational and commercial impact. Let's get into it.
First up, the unsafe condition. Let's dig into the root cause here and understand the safety risk that prompted this AD.
So this wasn't some theoretical what-if scenario. This came from a real event. An occurrence was reported where the pilots heard a noise coming from the back of the helicopter, and then they lost tail rotor control. The investigation dug in and found the culprit, a broken control rod on the yaw actuator, a single, small part causing a massive failure.
And let's be absolutely clear about the stakes. We're not talking about a minor glitch. This failure mode leads to the potential loss of control of the helicopter. That's the ultimate risk, right? And that's exactly what this AD is designed to prevent.
Okay, Section 2. Affected helicopter fleets. Let's figure out exactly which aircraft we're talking about here.
So the directive covers a pretty significant portion of the fleet. We're talking about a whole range of EC135 and EC635 models, specifically all serial numbers up to and including 1999. If your operation has any of these models in that serial number range, you need to pay close attention.
Now, EASA has split these helicopters into two categories, and this is a key distinction. You've got Group 1 helicopters, which are the ones that have at least one of the affected control rods installed. Then you have Group 2, which don't. Why does this matter? Well, the actions you need to take depend entirely on which group your aircraft falls into.
All right, on to Section 3, required actions for compliance. This is the technical heart of the directive, the part for all the camo and maintenance folks.
Okay, for all those Group 1 helicopters, the compliance plan breaks down into 4 main steps. First, a one-time inspection. Then, ongoing repetitive inspections. Third, any corrective actions that might be needed. And finally, reporting your findings. Let's walk through each one. So, that initial one-time inspection for Group 1 helicopters, the timeline is tight. You've got to get it done within 50 flight hours or 3 months after May 15th, 2025. And the key phrase there is whichever occurs first. This isn't a suggestion, it's a hard deadline. Your planning team needs to be all over this.
And it doesn't stop with that first check. After the initial inspection, you're looking at repetitive inspections. The standard interval is every 3 months, but there's a bit of leeway. If your helicopter is not operated in what's defined as a corrosive environment, you might be able to extend that interval out to 6 months.
Now, what happens if you find something? The rule is simple. If you find any discrepancies, you have to take corrective action before the next flight. No ifs, ands, or buts. And just as important, you have to report all your inspection results, and that includes no findings, back to Airbus Helicopters Deutschland within 15 days of that first one-time inspection. They need that data.
Okay, technical teams, this slide is for you. These are the specific part numbers at the heart of the AD. We're talking about the ball pivot, the yaw actuator assembly, and the control rod itself. Make sure your maintenance and supply chain folks have these PNs front and center. This is what you're looking for. Okay, so we've been deep in the technical weeds. Let's pull up now and look at the bigger picture. What does all of this mean for management, for operations, and for the budget? This is the executive summary.
You're really going to feel the impact in 3 main areas. First, aircraft downtime. You'll have to pull helicopters out of service for these inspections. Second, maintenance costs. You've got to account for labor hours and potentially replacement parts. And third, just the overall fleet compliance effort. This is going to take resources to manage, track, and document properly.
So for anyone in management, here are your key takeaways. First, this is absolutely mandatory. It's not optional. Second, you have to plan for that aircraft downtime. It will affect fleet availability. Third, coordination is everything. Your camo, planning, maintenance, and supply chain teams need to be perfectly aligned. And finally, documentation. Meticulous records are non-negotiable. And just to put a fine point on it, the regulation is crystal clear. No person may operate an aircraft to which an AD applies except in accordance with the requirements of that AD. Plain and simple.
If you're not compliant, you're not flying. Which brings us to the big question. Is your compliance plan in place? Because the deadlines are set and the clock is ticking. Now is the time to coordinate with your teams and get a solid plan in motion.